in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up, so what can make a better me?
Production quality's gone up, but welcome everyone to the Pommy and Fazz show, special edition, the EPL preview. Obviously, I'm joined by the legend, my co-host, Fazz. How you doing?
Wowee, man. Our budget has clearly gone up here. That was amazing. It's so good to be here. 2 nights in a row. When you thought you got enough of us, here we are again for an awesome Premier League preview. I'm really looking forward to it.
Hey, mate, I can't wait. And we had a bit of a debate off camera alphabetically. Obviously, you've got to make sure that. But what we're going to do today is go through all 20 teams, give you some players to watch, what they've done in the off-season, and have a little guess at how they end up. And we start off, evidently, alphabetically. We've got a teacher here, so we'll back him in. Aston Villa. So let's just have a quick look at the mighty Villa. I know Peter Hayward's in chat. He's a big villain. So let's have a look. So there we are. They're the 2 guys we've picked. I've picked Mr. Camara, the big signing for them, came in from Marseille on a free, and Fazz has gone a bit of Brazilian flair in Coutinho, man who is familiar with the Premier League. So, like, Fazz, when you look at their signings, they've actually gone quite hard because they've got Diego Carlos, who obviously was in their team of the year a few years back in Sevilla. They brought in Angwitusen on loan, the defender, and they shored up their goalkeeping stocks with Robin Olsen, losing Taggart for 15 mil, which is unbelievable. Trezeguet left, Horane left, and Bedice left on loan. You've got them 10th, I've got them 7th. Explain it to me.
Look, I feel like they're still trying to replace Grealish a little bit. I mean, Coutinho came in and was fantastic late last season. I just can't see them really taking it next stride. I think they're going to be a big watch under Stevie G. I think another full season, how is he going to go? Really taking him to that next level. I think 10th would be a good result for them. I think 7th would be outstanding. But 10th, I think breaking into that top 8 is probably a season too early. But yeah, so I'm looking at the 10th.
Yeah, well, I mean, you chose Coutinho. Talk us through that. Obviously, he's one of them players that comes in with Premier League experience, doesn't he? He knows the pointy end of the season. He knows the physicality of the league. Obviously, when he was at Liverpool, he was phenomenal, wasn't he? He managed to blag a transfer to Barcelona. So, do you think he can recreate that form under Stevie G?
I think he can. I think we saw snippets of it last year. He came in and pretty much hit the ground running, scored goals, got assists, and so on. So yeah, I think he can, and he's going to be a vital part. He's kind of like their new Grealish, Jack Grealish. He's who they're looking for. He's going to dictate whether they win or draw games. And it is basically, yeah, I think he's going to be a key player, and I can honestly see him making team of the season come end of the year. If they finish 7th, like you say, it'll be because Coutinho has a double figure goals assists for sure.
Mate, well, I mean, I agree with you, and I know that some people here, they're saying 7th, goodness me, 11th for me. I've gone a bit high. I've just been watching them in pre-season, and big fan of Stevie G. Obviously, do you know what I mean? He delivered 55, so I'm forever indebted in the little scouse. But I've seen he's really switched to that 4-3-3, which he made famous at Rangers, and seeing Bailey, Coutinho either side of Watkins. One thing I thought he last year was a real good CDM, and that's why I've picked Kamara. Kamara gives me real vibes of N'Golo Kante. He's a workhorse. He's exactly what Stevie G dictates in his side when he was at Rangers. We used to play Stephen Davis there. Scott Arfield, Joe Aribo, who's now in the Premier League. A lot of them went through there. It's a very important role, that number 6. I think Camara is top 4 quality as well, not bigging him up. So I really think if they can stay healthy, saw a few comments in here, donation coming in from Robbie as well. Thank you very much, mate. Much love to you. About depth, Serge here, depth will be an issue. I agree with that. But I think if they stay healthy, these guys are going to kick some ass.
Yeah, look, and Kamara's it's a good signing on a free as well. I think was it? Yeah, definitely it was a free, wasn't it? Yeah, that's a great get, and I agree with you. That's what they were missing, and he can always slot into that centre back role should they get desperate as well. But look, 7th, 10th, we're not too far apart. Let's call it even and say 8th.
Yeah, I mean, I put them in the top 10 as well because they've got Super John McGinn as the captain.
Yes.
And, I mean, everyone knows he is the Scottish Pirlo. So, do are they? Like, honestly, big things. But, I mean, I look at that side, and I think their best 11 for me is inside the top 10. And, like, when you look at it this season as well, just the preseason form of watching how cameras slot in, Bailey has been playing like kind of, I see this comment just coming here, almost like a forward. He has been really aggressive, almost like an Anthony at Ajax, cutting in from the right or the left where he plays him. That's very archetypical of Gerrard when he played for us. A lot of goals come from them wings because they effectively in attack are 3 up top. And then in defensive transition, they play like almost a 7 at the back. It's a very fluid system. Obviously, they start the season with a trip down to Bournemouth. Lovely part of the world. What are your predictions there? I'm going 2-0 Villa.
Yeah, look, I mean, we'll see shortly what we think of Bournemouth. A newly promoted team early on in the season, it can always be a bit of a tricky get because they still be riding on that promotion and that thrill and the vibe, because as we know, the break's not that long. But I agree. I think Villa will be too strong. A 2-0 result, I agree. Big season for Ollie Watkins too.
Mate, it's going to be an interesting one. So Villa, Pom loves you. Fazz doesn't love you as much. We'll see how we are. But then we go to the wonderful part of the world. And Matthew will love talking about this then if he's a Yid fan. We've got their favourite team, the big shit team in North London. This is a team I'm super excited about talking about because I've got them right in the top 4. And you saw there at the start just then, we've got Martinelli, I've picked, and Zinchenko, the legend that is Fazz has picked. One good pick up there and one very promising youngster. 5th and 4th, so we're obviously expecting them to be there or thereabouts. Talk us through what you think of the Gunners.
I think I say this every season when talking about Arsenal. They are one of the most ridiculous teams to try and pick and try and judge because they could easily come out and lose the first 6 games and play catch up, or they could come out and dominate. I'm not ready to trust them just yet. I'm not ready to trust them. I think they've made some wonderful signings of Premier League experience. Really looking forward to seeing Zinchenko getting pretty much full game time, whether it be left back, left wing back. He can also play in the centre of mid too. I think Smith Rowe is going to take the next step, and I think Saka might take the next step too. I'm just not ready to trust them. I don't know. Fifth is good. I'm happy with 5th, but I tell you what, they were one of my hardest teams to place. I had them pretty much anywhere from 2nd to 7th, and I ended up landing on 5th. I've
got a sneaky feeling that these guys will go off. And the kid I've picked here, Martinelli, you've seen there as well. Like his effort and intensity. They play it's almost like Kmart, Man City. It's a very pep system. And I just, when I look at their team, Emile Smith-Rowe, Martinelli, they've got Gabriel Jesus looks like he's Pele in pre-season as well. And you look at some of the acquisitions as well. Matt Turner comes in to be an able backup. a lot better than Bernd Leno. They've got Marquinhos has come in, who probably won't play early doors. Fabio Vieira, Jesus, and Zinchenko. Zinchenko, the guy you've picked, I think he's absolutely world class. And they have got Kieran Tierney there, who is the Caleb Marchbank of the EPL. That guy sees grass out for 6 months. And I think what he's got rid of as well, he's got rid of like Guendouzi, he's got rid of Lacazette, Leno, he's got rid of the Tosh. He's got rid of the Tosh. And I really rate Arteta. And I think this comment here from Ben, spot on. I think Partey is the secret there because he holds it together. And in pre-season, tell you what, Jesus, 7 goals, 1 assist, 5 assists, 1 goal for Martinelli. Cedric's chipped in 2 assists. Even Xhaka has played well. And Saka and Martinelli have looked really fearsome in that front three with Gabriel Jesus. I think these guys are going to be the team to watch. I had to fight myself not having them third.
Well, they're a really good young team. And as you said, Arteta's started to get rid of the dead wood and really bring in these youngs. And he's not afraid to play young players. But again, what really excites me is to see the likes of Jesus and Zinchenko get, when fit, will play 90 minutes every week. That they'll start taking, especially Zinchenko might take his game to the next level. And, I just think, like I said, it's a watch this space. I'm not ready to trust them, but nothing would shock me with them for sure.
I think if they get it together, they'll be very good. And I think what I love about Arsenal is usually they're guilty of taking way too long to get players in. They've identified them early. They've got them in. I think Gabriel Jesus will be the pickup of the year as well. I thought at Man City, he was phenomenal. He knows how to handle the big game. He knows how to play the big stage. He's not going to be phased. And I think that's always one of them things that you look at with these signings. Gabriel Jesus is a top 4 footballer. He's now going to be leading the line, and he's settled to it like a duck to water, really, in pre-season, obviously.
Yeah, love it. I think it's a great signing. And again, like I said before, signing Premier League players. A lot of teams fall into the trap, and we know players from foreign leagues can take that little bit longer to get settled, but these blokes won't. They'll just go straight to it. In answer to this question about Tierney and Zinchenko, I think they'll play. I think you'll see a bit of Zinchenko in the middle. He has spoken about how he wants to play a little bit midfield. I think you'll see him, rotate that left back, left wing back, midfield. But Tierney can't stay fit anyway, so.
Well, I mean, he could also go what the Scotland coach does as well and play Tierney centre back. You never know. There's weird things happen there when you've got about 3 world class left backs for the national team. But no, I think you may see them if they fit slot in. And Michael there, our good friend, he'll be happy because I think that, like you say, they look very, very strong. Obviously, they start their season with a London derby. It's always good to start. Palace, Arsenal. I reckon they'll start with 3 points.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it'll be both. I've been watching Crystal Palace pre-season, and they haven't really impressed me that much. Jury's still out on them. We'll get to them obviously soon, but I think Arsenal will start with. They're traditionally slow starters, but I think they'll start with the 3 points. I'm going to go 2-1, 2-1 in a London derby.
I'm going 2-0. I reckon they'll get the clean sheet. My boy Ramsey will do the business. Well, then we go on to a team that is kind of close to my heart because I lived there for a couple of years, and that's AFC Bournemouth. Let's have a look at them. Well, we've cheated there as well, as you can see, because those who know me and Fazz know that we're a West Ham fan and a Rangers fan, and we've managed to somehow sneak little affinities to our clubs. Marcus Tavernier is the guy I chose, obviously the younger brother of the greatest right-back in world football, James, the captain of Rangers. He comes in as well this year, and you've chosen Ryan Fredericks, and we've both got them, funny enough, 19th. Which is interesting. We think they're going to go straight down. Talk us through Ryan Fredericks and talk us through your prediction, how you come to that understanding.
Yeah, look, I absolutely love Ryan Fredericks. I think he was one of a bit of an unsung hero at West Ham. He just can't stay fit. He's got hamstrings made out of spaghetti. He just soft tissue injury after soft tissue injury. If he can get right, he's a pace to burn, really quality right back. He can actually play up on right wing as well. If he's fit, he plays every game. It's as simple as that. He's a good pickup for them. I've got a soft spot for them, obviously, with Scott Parker managing them. Obviously, another West Ham, the West Ham legend, if you were. But I just can't see. Looking at their squad, they need a hell of a lot to go right or a hell of a lot to go wrong for another team for them to survive. But I've still got them 19th, so I still haven't got them dead stinking last. But gee, I think they're going to fight it out for 20th, 19th, and 18th. That's for sure.
Mate, I'm looking forward to this as well. 6 points. It is one of them games. It's a potential banana skin in it because they do play together, Bournemouth. Manic fans. I look at their ins and outs and I just question what planet I'm on for a team that's come into the Premier League. Like, they've got Fredericks in for free, which I think is a good signing for a promoted side. Obviously, Fredericks has been there and done it. He knows promotion. He knows what it takes to stay in the league. And like you say, you can get fit. He's Premiership level. But Tavernier, I love him. But like someone said earlier in the chat, Lockie said, he's not James, but he's got good skills. And then Joe Rothwell comes in on a free, and they lose Gary Cahill and Robbie Brady. And I kind of think to myself, the fuck have you done with the money that you get for promoting? Like, that, they are very scary signings, and I would be worried because it is like Peter Hayward says there, it's a championship level squad.
Yeah. Look, there's still a month to go in the window, but they need a lot. And you're right. What are they doing? What have they done with the money? And obviously we'll get to the other promoted teams too, but is there even any money anymore when you get promoted? Not judging by this, it doesn't look like it because their signings haven't really blown me away.
It's so, if you're a Bournemouth fan, you kind of look at them ins and you're hoping to Christ in the next 4 weeks Mbappe has a soft spot for Dorset. Do you know what I mean? You're hoping he wants a nice little bit of south sunshine, I tell you, because that's a long thing. And we've already discussed, we both tipped Villa to win. That's their start. Yeah. That's a tough place as well to entertain because Villa are a Premiership quality side, battle hardened. So I think it's going to get tough for Bournemouth.
Yeah, I think so.
So, Paul Bournemouth, if you're a Bournemouth fan, I'm sorry, but yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. But then we go on to another side that did probably impress people last year. Well, the Bees, and we've both got them 17th, interesting enough, and we've gone with different players as well. So take me through. Keane Lewis Porter obviously came in. You've got them 17th. What are you expecting to see? Are they going to be able to... Usually we see a team do well and then plummet, and we've both predicted that. Yep. Do you think there's a chance, though, that they can cement?
No, I don't think so. To be blunt, I think they've got Sheffield United written all over them. I mean, same colours and everything too. But they, like what Sheffield United did, had a great season and absolutely blew up. The only thing that's for me keeping Brentford in the league is I think that there's just 3 other worse teams, and that's as simple as that. I can't see losing Henriksen, massive loss. I just think that their signings feel like what you would do if like Keane Lewis Potter, for example, gun player for Hull, hasn't played in the Prem. How's he going to go? It's almost like a Jared Bowen type signing for West Ham. But when you're up and cemented in the Premier League, you can make those championship signings and hope they develop. I'm not sure if Brentford are at that level yet to bring a Keane Lewis Potter in and have him develop in the Premier League and stay up. I think they'll just stay up. But again, I think it's going to be very close for them to go down or stay up. The reason I put Keane Lewis Potter is for that reason alone, that I just want to watch him because first out of the championship into the Premier League, they're going to throw him to the Wolves straight away, and it's sink or swim, young man. And I think if he swims, they could finish around about that 14th, 15th mark. But if they're putting a lot of eggs in his basket.
Well, they are, aren't they? And I mean, they've got Ivan Toney, who should he stay as well. Do you know what I mean? If he can get to grips with the Premier League, which he didn't quite get to grips until late on. I think Michael nails it as well, with Henriksen going as well. He's a touch of class. And we look at their ins this year as well. They've got Aaron Hickey, another left-back from the Scottish national team, all the way from Bologna. Can play central as well. Very good young talent. They've got, as you say, a Danish player. They've got Strashkosha. Lewis Potter came in from the mighty Hull, my neck of the woods. Ben Mee comes in with a bit of Premiership experience.
It's a good signing. It's a good signing.
Good signing. He's tough. And I like what they're about. And I agree with Michael here. Great coach. If he makes some more signings, I agree as well. They could stay up. But at this stage, they're definitely, I would say, squeaky bum time.
Yeah, no, definitely. And they'll be in that relegation battle, I believe. But again, if they can get off to a good start, sit around that mid-table by Christmas, then they should be fine. But the pressure will come to them. They didn't really feel the pressure last season because they had made such a good start and they were just able to roll through the season. Different animal when you start off slow or whatever, and you start fighting that relegation battle.
Mate, couldn't agree more. And they start as well with Leicester away. A nice trip into the Midlands where everyone talks weirdly. How do you see that one going?
After everything I've said, I'm tipping a Brentford 1-0. After everything I just said.
You know what? I was going to say I'm the biggest hypocrite in the world because I've got them sneaking a draw. 1-1.
Yeah. I could just see them beating Leicester. Yeah, 1-0. It seems like that type of game where it might be a Ben Mee from a corner. We know Leicester conceded some goals from corners last season, and Ivan Toney, whatever. But yeah, I can see them sneaking a 1-0. That's for sure.
They are a good team to watch, though, Brentford. I've got to say, we've done a few watch-alongs with Brentford, and they play in the right way.
Yeah, love watching them.
Well, then we go to, in my opinion, probably the best young coach in European football, and that is Brighton Hove Albion. Great tune, that, I tell you. But we stuck fat with this. We've got the mid-table. Yeah. We've got them mid-table. You've gone Trossard, as we saw on the clips, very skillful player. And I've gone probably a guy that hates the fact he's English, because I'd say he'd be pushing for England selection by the end of the year. But the fact England have got 255 right-backs, he's probably struggling. But I've got Tariq Lamptey. So talk us through the wonderful Brighton Hove Albion.
They're an interesting team again. I think that they're one of those teams you throw a blanket over. I thought they had a outstanding season last season. They played above themselves. I thought Welbeck, Malpai, they were just awesome forward for them. Losing Basuma, that's what I was going to say. Losing Basuma and Cucurella, I don't know. I've got them 12th, but with no confidence. I think they could. The start is so important for them, like it is for every team. They could find themselves in a relegation scrap early. I think they'll be fine because, like I said, there's a few terrible teams, but their biggest strength and I think their biggest attribute is their manager. I think he is insane, that bloke, and I can't see him at Brighton much longer, to be honest.
Mate, I'm with you. I think Potter will be sniffed around by. I mean, well, Wolves are going to sack their coach at some point this season.
They love
you know what I mean? And you would say that, is it a step up? Maybe it is, because Wolves do seem to spend a bit liberally. I think Potter needs that. I mean, one thing Graham Potter's done, and like people are saying here, that is the problem with them. The culture, a good player, Basuma, I thought was brilliant. He was a guy that I thought United should sniff at. Bit of steel. Kirachella. Looks like he's off to Chelsea to warm the bench with his cute fuzzy hair. They're big, the big outs. And when you look at it as well, they've brought in Julio Nkisa from Union, basically. And you look at their preseason form, it's been okay. Do you know what I mean? They had that wonderful win against Espanyol. Trossard and Morpay, though, they're in the goals. They are in the goals, and they're going to need that if they're going to do it.
Well, look, I picked Trossard for no other reason than he loves a goal against West Ham. he loves a goal against West Ham, and that smug look on his face. I just want to slap it. But he's a skillful player, and I think for them to have a good season, he needs to take the next step. The one criticism of Trossard is he's a bit in and out, maybe a bit of that flashy player. If he can take that next step, really cement himself as one of the top, Premier League attacking mids, I think they can definitely take the next step for sure as a club. But watch this space on a few of their players they've lost. But I do like them.
Mate, I agree with you, and I think we'll get to Chelsea in a minute. We're not far off alphabetically, but I do think Kirachella, I think he'll be pushing Ben Chilwell right up the jacksie to start the left wing back. I think that's probably why Tuchel has looked at him. But I'm with you with Brighton. It's one of them things that I think if Leonardo there, he gets up and about, if Morpay can get that consistency, anything can happen. With Brighton, they play that 3-5-2, which is the antichrist of British football, but Potter loves it. And it looks good.
And they're another one of these teams who basically get to start on 6 points because they always beat West Ham. Any West Ham fans in there? I actually don't know if we've ever beaten Brighton in the Premier League. I can't off the top of my head. I just feel like every time we play them, we lose. So they'll start off on 6 points, and hopefully that's enough for them to get a good start.
Hey, I don't mind this call here from Serge. I can see him going to Spurs. He is a Spurs manager because Conte. He might have the sniff if one of them big European clubs have a look at him. They begin their season with an away trip to Old Trafford, the once fortress of English football. I've got United winning this 1-2-0. What about you?
I've got United winning this 3-2 in a classic.
Great. And a nice squeaky bum time. It should be a good... I mean, to be fair, Brighton are one of them teams that when they've played United haven't got a Scooby. But then again, you look at the guys running the club. I don't think they have much of a Scooby at all. But yeah, Brighton, they're going to be mid-table mediocrity, me and Fazz pick. And then we go to one of Fazz's rivals next. And there we are, Palace. Again, me and Fazz, very similar here. Fazz has gone for the legend that is Wilfried Zaha, 14th. I've gone from Eze because he's got a great name, but he is a class player. I've gone 13th as well. I do think Vieira is going to do something with them. I really like Vieira. He got them playing a real positive brand. I think when you look at Palace as well, they've really tried to get players in there as well that add a bit of steel. Chris Richards coming in late as well. You've got they've got Eva Bowie from Derby. They've got Decore from Long. They've gone hard. He's gone with that 4-3-3. It's a tough one when you look at them, but I think if they keep Wilfried, I think they'll be cooking on gas.
Yeah, look, and this all depends on Zaha staying there. I think he's one of the most watchable players in the Premier League and has been for a long time. He just loves it. He carries that team on his back. And I think, watched them a bit in pre-season. They're obviously in Australia for pre-season. And, their defence made me... it worried me looking at their defence. I think they can score goals. I really do. But it's going to come down to how tight they can be at the back. 14th, I've been a little bit, probably a bit harsh on them, to be honest. I think there's a lot of good teams around about that 9th to 15th mark, and I can see them finishing in that group there. 14th is a bit harsh. Maybe it was a bit of, London bias, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they finish anywhere from that 10th to 14th mark.
They are one of them teams, aren't they, that it's kind of just hard to get a read on them. I mean, you look at pre-season, I think if you are a fan of Crystal Palace, I think one thing that'll probably really float your boat is the Eze Zaha combination. That they've really combined. Zaha has been in ridiculous form: 5 goals, 3 assists. Eze 2 goals, 2 assists. Edouard, the scum merchant himself, former Celtic player, even he's found the onion bag as well for them. And Benteke as well. You know, Audi, Lukaku has looked good. And I agree with Tim here. There's no way Gallagher's playing for Chelsea. Why haven't they gone in for him?
Yeah, that's a great question. He was absolute quality last season. Might have tapered off a little bit, but yeah, I don't get it. Why they didn't try? Maybe Chelsea wanted to keep him, but he's not playing for Chelsea this season. He'll be out on loan again, or he'll, sit in the twos or the under 23s or whatever. And yeah, I find that quite strange because he was brilliant for them.
He was a top quality player. I do think when you look at their team, I do think one of the benefits for them is that they have really seemed to have stuck to the style of football. But when you look at pre-season, they've hemorrhaged goals, Palace.
Yeah, and that was my worry.
There.
Yeah, that was my worry.
Do you know what I mean? When you're conceding 4 to Millwall.
Yeah, and that was my worry with the bleeding goals. You can't bleed goals and do well in the Premier League. You just can't. And and I think that might hold them back. But if they could tighten that up, clean that up, like I said, they're a team. Then they're not going to have to worry about going down or anything like that. But speaking for Palace fans, where's the next step? Are you happy to just be this team year after year after year, mid-table mediocrity? When are you going to take that next step? When are you going to start challenging for European Conference or Europa or whatever? Obviously not Champions League, but when are you going to start catching up to the teams like West Ham and Wolves and Leicester and stuff? Because at the moment, it sounds terrible, but they're an irrelevant club at the moment. They're not going down. They're not doing anything. They're just there. And, I think for Palace fans, they need to try and maybe push the team. Because I interact with a lot of Palace fans on Twitter, and they seem okay with just being that. And I'm like, okay, cool. But I think they really need to get behind their club and say, hang on, no, we want next level. So,
mate, I'm with you, and I agree with Matt. You look at the back, they've got players, they've got the personnel. It just seems that 4-3-3, it just got broken down at times, particularly by the possession-based sides. And it'll be interesting, like Matt here. I mean, Gallagher, I can see him maybe sneaking in, but he'll have a chance, but I just can't see it. I just think for me, if I was Gallagher, I'd want to be moving. And I agree with you. I feel like it's ambition. They start their season against Arsenal, and I think Arsenal may just let them know who boss is. I think I said 2-0. I could see that getting ugly with Arsenal.
Yeah. Look, I've said 2-1, but I can see if Arsenal are in gear straight away, Palace could be playing catch up pretty early in the season.
It's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be interesting. We talked about Gallagher. Let's have a look at the mighty Chelsea. What a finish by Raheem the Dream. I tell you, what a footballer he is. You've got him 4th. Pom's gone 3rd. Raheem Sterling and Kubi Bayi. I went Kuda Daddy. I tell you, not a bad ins and outs as well. I think Sterling and Big Cooler coming in for Rudiger, Christensen, and Lukaku. Who less said about him, the better. I think the Raheem Sterling acquisition absolutely phenomenal, because I think what a footballer he is, and I think Tuchel will love Raheem Sterling. You saw there as well in that footage there. I've made sure I got the right highlights. His press since coming to City and since Pep came to City, absolutely phenomenal. And I think, Cooley as well down the back there. I think he's one of the few centre-backs in Serie A who's a big thug, and he'll love the Premier League. I'm excited about seeing Chelsea. I was shocked you didn't go with Cooler, being a former centre-back yourself. I thought you would have been straight in.
Yeah, look, I think he's going to come to the Premier League and absolutely kill it from ball one. He's got all the attributes. I couldn't go past Sterling because, in my opinion, that's the transfer of the window. I think that the pickup of Raheem Sterling is amazing. I couldn't believe they did it. If he's a mature, he's not a boy anymore. You know, he always looks like a boy, but he's a mature man now. He's been there and back. He knows what it takes. He's going to lead that Chelsea team, and I think he's going to be phenomenal. And he might even take his game to another level because he doesn't have the De Bruynes and all that around him. You know, he's going to be the big banana there now, and I think he could take his game to the next level if that's possible, and that can only be good for England. And I think it's a great move for him. It's a great move for the club, and it pains me to say because being a West Ham fan, but I really think they're going to do some damage.
Yeah, I mean, a few people there, I agree with Michael. They weren't amazing in the preseason, but there's just something about them. There's just something about Thomas Tuchel that I think he's a genius. I really do. And I can see what Matt says here coming true. I think they'll sneak De Jong. I really do. And I think suddenly you look at that side, it's a different dimension. I can see them as well sneaking. I don't think their spending stopped. I think you may see De Jong come in, and I think that'll be huge. Do you know what I mean? And I love Josh in. He's a bit down with. He's a Carlton fan, so he's been avoiding content. So welcome aboard, mate. But Michael thinks they'll have an awful start. I've got a feeling that they're going to be good, and they've got Everton first up. What are your thoughts of that?
I think it's going to be a bloodbath. I've got Chelsea 4-0, and I dead set think that's generous. That could be the halftime score.
I've got 3-1. I thought Fat Frank might take the lead, and then Everton will do it. But I agree, and as Bruno says here, they are one of the teams that's making it out. Do you know what I mean? With the debt, but I mean, it's Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? There'll be some little dodgy thing. Chelsea are the Paris Saint-Germain of the Premier League.
Yeah,
they do it. So, but Michael doesn't like them. But we've gone third and fourth, so it'll be an interesting one. But I don't know why I was hot on Chelsea, and that's not like me because I'm not a fan of them. But I just thought something about them, I just think he's a very good coach. But then we go to a team we've just talked about, and that is a Chelsea icon. Looks after them. Let's have a look at them. Well, I mean, this is a side that if you go on their pre-season form, you'll scratch your head. Yeah, I mean, I stayed up late to watch that Minnesota game. They lost 4-0. And it was one of the most shocking performances. But we have gone 15th. I've got a caveat, though, with 15th. I don't think Fat Frank will be there when it's when they get 15th.
I can't believe I put them 15th, to be honest. I don't know what. I was doing this at God knows when. I don't know how they snuck to 15th. I just think there's just too many crap teams. But I tell you what, Everton are going to be lucky that they're not in the bottom three because they're deplorable. They are they're lucky they didn't go down last season, to be honest. You asked me to pick a player, one to watch. I picked Demarai Gray because I just think who's the player to take to the next level? He's it. They've lost Richarlison. I mean, I can't think of anything positive to say about them, to be perfectly honest. And that's not being disrespectful. I just can't think of anything positive to say. The fact I've got them 15th, I can't believe that. They just
hates himself.
I'm really annoyed at myself for that, actually.
Well, I mean, I have them 15th off the top of my head. I don't think they'll be as bad, but I've chosen one of my boys here. Do you know what I mean? I've chosen, in my opinion, now this is Pom's bold call. It wouldn't be a show without a bold call, but this guy has started a lot of games, and Nathan Patterson, in my opinion, is a jet. He is something else. And I've been looking at him, the work with Michaelenko, either side on that wing back. Thank you very much, my wife. 3-4-3, they've been playing the last 2 games of the year in the preseason, where the results have got a bit better. They looked all right against Dynamo Kiev. I didn't mind it. And as Lockie says, Calvin Lewitt's out, but I saw a comment here. I'm a big fan of this kid, Gordon. I think they'll be all right. I agree, though. Yep. They're out. Bizarre. Do you know what I mean? They did lose some big names. Delph, Kenny, Signorsson, obviously. Torsen, all left. Braithwaite and Richarlison left. They went with Premiership pedigree, though. Tarkowski came in.
That's a good signing.
It is, yeah. Big Polish centre-back. It's what you want, even though he's English. And and Dwight McNeil. Bizarre that. He has taken the preseason apart, though. I'll give him that. He has 2 goals.
Yeah, look, and again, their history is a great history for what they've achieved as a club, as far as that being like the best of the rests. But they're falling into nothingness, Everton, and I really worry about them, not just this season but long term, because I think they're a type of team. If they were ever to get relegated, I can see them doing a Leeds and a Nottingham Forest and falling away to nothingness for a long time. Yeah, I don't know.
I have Oldham vibes about them. Like, I'm old enough to remember Oldham in the Premier League, and you just don't hear them anymore. And I can see what you're saying. I think if they fall out, it could be because it's not that club, is it? It's not that club. A lot of Premier League clubs, I think, suffer from having a big brother.
Yeah.
And if you were going to move to Merseyside, there's only 2 reasons you'd move to Merseyside. 1, to see if that Danny Dyer documentary of Stephen French is true. And 2, is probably to play for Liverpool.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, I do have a soft spot for them, being, Tim Cahill, obviously a champion there, but I worry for them this season. I really do. And a 15th, if they finish 15th, that's an outstanding result for them.
I will say, I mean, obviously we both predicted a messy result. We just did that with Chelsea Everton, so we don't have to cover that again. But I do want to implore everyone, if you are playing fantasy, get Big Nath in your team. Tell you what, kiddy's class. That is POM certified. Honestly, I was gutted when he left the Jers, but obviously we do have the best right back in world football. That is a fact. And then we come to one of the, 2 newly promoted teams. Just bopping away, mate. I'm in the time of my life at the moment. We've both got these teams rock bottom, so we're there bopping away, and we've actually killed them. I forgot about Tranmere as well. Yeah, that is in that Merseyside area. But Fulham, very interesting proposition, Fulham, I think, because you look at what they've done, and Marco Silva, in his credit, has changed Sweet FA, really. Has changed Sweet FA in setup. They went out and they got Bernd Leno, which I was very surprised because that guy looked all arms and legs. I'm pretty sure Bernd Leno, when all is said and done, is a vampire because the guy shits himself when he sees a cross. And Bapu came over. The boy I've got there, Piera, came in. I'm a big fan of that kid. Palhinha came in as well. They didn't really lose a massive amount. Carvalho, obviously their young superstar, went to Liverpool, but outside of that, nothing major in their outs. You've picked, though, a young Aussie, which, tell us about him.
Yeah, look, he is a good talent, a very good talent. At some point, he will be in the Socceroos setup very, very quickly as far as a midfielder goes. In fact, I think he might even be a smoky to make the World Cup squad. I know that's just around the corner, but big raps on him. Will he see much time early on in the season? I don't think so. But I know for a fact that the setup at the Socceroos have their eyes firmly on him. Good little player, good skills, and I think he'll get minutes. I think he will. But as far as Fulham go altogether, it's going to be a debacle. I can just feel it going to be a debacle. They'll sack their manager before Christmas. It's just, I can't see it for them. Unfortunately, yeah.
It's going to be an interesting one because obviously Alexander Mitrovic, is their big signing, their big star man. He didn't quite set the world alight last year when he was in the Premier League the last time round. Obviously went back down in the Championship, bagged them for fun. Is the kind of centre forward when I was a kid, it would have been a great centre forward. Do you know what I mean? Big, strong, looks like he can have a few darts at half time and knock someone out. Didn't quite get going. I do find though, and this is one thing that worries me, is when I look at their acquisitions, these guys are very speculative signings that we covered, especially Andreas there. He was a former United player, obviously spent a bit of time on loan back in his native Brazil. This kid is class, like absolute class, but he's like the White Anderson. Do you know what I mean? You just don't know which Andreas is going to turn up. It could be Silky Skills or he could go anonymous. And I just think they've put a lot of eggs in, a bit like last year with the Ravel Morrison signing from Southampton. On paper, if you get the best out of Andreas, you will get out of the relegation battle, because this guy could be like Adel Tarabat a few years ago, tear the league apart. But if you get him on an off day, you might as well play you and me there.
Yeah, and I think promoted teams tend to fall in this mistake. I'll go back to when West Ham got promoted with Sam Allardyce, and basically they signed with Premier League experience. When you get promoted, if you want to stay in the Premier League, you have to get Premier League experience, and not kids. We're talking 30-year-old centre backs. Right? We're talking, 35-year-old keepers with Premier League experience, leaders in every line. I just don't see them have it. And I just think, similar to our conversation last night, when shit hits the fan, who are they going to turn to? I like Mitrovic, I really do, but he is the perfect example of he is a superstar in the Championship, but can't take it to that next level in the Premier League. Who do they turn to when shit hits the fan, which it inevitably will? Who do they turn to?
It's going to be interesting because that Mitrovic-Harry Wilson partnership on paper is goals. And in pre-season, it's developed a few goals. Do you know what I mean? 4 goals, 1 assist, and 1 goal, 1 assist between them. It's going to be interesting. But for me, I agree with Serge here. I don't think he's fully invested. And I think I watched him in the Premier League the first time round, and it felt like he was just waiting for an Everton or Wolves to come in for him. The next logical step, a mid-table side. Like Benjani takes the punt on him. Do you know what I mean? Remember Benjani at Portsmouth? He went to Man City and then we never heard of him. I think it's a long, hard road. I'm with you. I just don't look at that side and think, oh, fuck, there's a chance. I think there's way too much that they're hoping for from these players we're talking about. Horrible start as well. Liverpool.
Horrendous start.
What have you got there?
Oh, mate, I've got a massacre. Occurring. I've got Liverpool 6-0.
I went 5-0, so I don't feel so bad. I was like, Tom, what are you doing?
They are in disgustingly good goal scoring form. Liverpool, it is going to be an absolute bloodbath.
Mate, that's probably one of the games we're doing the watch along to as well. So, I mean,
no doubt.
So now we've said that, 0-0.
Yeah, they'll get a good result. If we're watching it, it'll be 0-0 guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, we've kiboshed it, but I mean, Fulham, long, hard road. But then we go to a team that people really do enjoy watching, the Party Boys of the Premier League. Let's have a look at them. Wow, the Leeds fans are in the chat. Big style. Look, Gang's in there. Leeds winning the Premier League. Michael putting it to rest. But obviously, we've got a bit of different end of the spectrum here. This is probably our biggest gap. 13th for you, and I've gone 16th, and we've picked two different players. I've gone Harrison, you've gone Harrison. Tell you what, there's similar names there. Talk to me about it.
I don't know about Leeds. I've got them 13th just because of their name, I guess. They don't impress me at all. I think defensively they're diabolical. Can score a goal, amazing to watch, but defensively they're an absolute piss take. Again, I put them in this group. You know, we spoke about Palace earlier. I put them in this group from 10th to 16th. Like, they can finish anywhere in that group. I put them 13th. I think just by their pure scoring power, I think they'll get enough goals. They'll snag wins. But gee whiz, if they don't tighten up their defense, it's just going to be another nothing season from Leeds. And they're a big club. They are a big club. What are they going to do is my question. What are they going to do to take that next step to really cement themselves as, hey, Leeds United are back? Yes, you've now been in the Premier League 2 years in a row. You're established. Fantastic. Take the next step or leave me alone.
Mate, it's an interesting one because I hate Leeds United, right? And I don't mind saying that. But one thing I will say is they're a side that I want to see in the Premier League because I think it makes it better. And I 100%. Agree with you. And maybe this is a bit of xenophobia from Uncle Pom, after all he says about the AFL. But I just can't trust a Yank in charge of a football club. And I know he's a great, great coach. I'm not going to say it, but when I watched Jesse last year, I didn't quite see what he was doing. I felt like it was very easy to take over from the coach before and stabilize it, you know. And Bielsa was a great coach, but it kind of got stagnant. I thought he got very lucky last year. I thought results really went their way, and I think in another time zone they'd go down. And I was surprised they kept him on. Now, obviously, Jesse, to his credit, as I think signed pretty well, if I'm quite honest. I do like the Rasmus and the Aronson signing. I think Aronson, watching him at Red Bull, looks tasty. Absolutely tasty. He's a Premier League footballer without a shadow of a doubt. You've mentioned your boy Jack. I think he's phenomenal. I love Tyler Adams as well. I do love him. I think they've got a real good CDM. Their big money guy, though, Luis Sinisterra, obviously injured. Is he going to be there? He's a big loss for them, losing players like Calvin Phillips and Rafinha. I do think they've replaced them, though, in the players they've acquired if they play. But it's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? So wait and see.
Look, Rafinha, they probably have replaced him, but I don't care if you bring in one player or 15 players. You can't replace Calvin Phillips. You just can't. There are certain players who are the fabric of your football club. Okay, we all know who they are: Steven Gerrards and Mark Nobles. Calvin Phillips was that for Leeds, and by no stretch, Grealish for Villa, right, as well. But by no stretch am I saying he shouldn't have left. He has to take that next step in his career. But you just don't replace that. Yeah, great. They got, what did they get? 80 million or something. I don't know what they got, but fantastic. But that does not fix the fabric of your football club. And I think the loss of him is not just on the field, but in the dressing room, on the training track, with the fans. That's a kick in the guts, losing Calvin Phillips.
I actually thought they got him for a bargain as well, City, 45 mil.
Oh, was it 45? Well, geez, here I'm thinking 80. Well, that's bullshit then. If they got him for 45, that's garbage.
Especially when you guys are caught in 80 million for Declan Rice. Jesus Christ.
Oh, that's half of Declan Rice.
Get his left boot. I agree with you here, Serge, as well. Some great sides. We're talking about Leeds. I'd love to see Middlesbrough. I'd love to see Sheffield United Wednesday. I'm also of the school. I miss probably my favourite team in the Premier League, Wimbledon, back in the day. They were so much fun. Obviously, you just don't get sides like that. But yeah, like you say, Leeds, they've lost a lot. I agree with you. Calvin Phillips, for me, one of the best players at what he does. And we saw it. We'll see it in the highlights at Man City. Go and watch them when that comes up. Jet. I don't mind Tyler Adams, though. And I'm not going to say he's going to replace them. But I think the way that Jesse sets them up, I think Tyler Adams will give them something.
Yeah.
And I think he's a very good footballer. I do think they've got more aggressive with their acquisitions. But honestly, I think it's going to be a long, hard season. I think they may rue going on a whim with him. I think maybe if I was the chairman, I would have been maybe looking at someone else. You know who he probably wouldn't go, but Potter would be brilliant for Leeds.
Oh, in fact, he would straighten them up if they were able to snag him. But yeah, and look, they've got a pretty juicy fixture as well. I think that's the fixture I'm probably most looking forward to. First game against the Wolves, I believe. And I think, I've got that down as a 3-3 draw. We all know goal early on in the Premier League, it's goals galore before teams start tightening up a bit. And we know Leeds defend diabolically and we know they can score. So 3-3 draw against Wolves, I've got them down for.
Mate, I've got 1-0 Wolves. Yeah, all right. I know, can't call me crazy, but I just think it's going to be a 1-0.
Not bad, not bad.
It's because it's one of them games. I'm like you. This looks like the tie of the round, and it's the game that if I could be asked to stay awake till 4 a.m, I'd say, "Shall we do a watch along?"
It'll be
I
shit
just know it's going to be shit. You know what I mean? I just know. Not stupid. I agree with Bruno here. That's the difference between Phillips and Rice. If United had bought Phillips, he would have been 90 million.
Correct.
City bought him, and evidently they get discounts. Do you know what I mean? It's an absolute joke. Tell you what, QPR up the R's. Tell you what, QPR. I haven't seen them for years. That they were a staple of the Panini sticker books when I was a kid. So we've both got Leeds, different scales. You've got mid-table. I think they may be in a relegation scrap, but we head on now to probably everyone's favourite side story in the last 10 years. It's a great story in the Premier League. Got Leicester here, and we both chose the same player for the first time in this show. 7th, you've gotten though 10th, and the forgotten man of Leicester, I think, old Wesley. Absolute supreme centre-back, and someone that I will guarantee you now won't be there next year.
Nah, definitely not. He won't be. He's really cementing himself as one of the best centre-backs in the league. Look, Leicester, where do I start? If anyone who supports a team that's not in the Big Six would have a soft spot for Leicester, because they just give you that hope, that belief. I know as a West Ham fan, I nearly cried when Leicester did it, because you sit there and know in your heart of hearts that you're never going to win the league, ever. But Leicester did it, yeah? And I don't care if it was how many years ago and if it's in another 30 years, we'll always remember that Leicester victory because of what they did. Have I been a little bit generous on their 7th? Definitely. But I've just got that massive spot for them where I want them to go well. I want them to go well because they mean that to me. Schmeichel leaving, huge. Heard that
this morning.
This morning. But you're right. They've got some players like Madden for fun. I mean, they could be in big trouble if the big teams come knocking for these types of players.
At the moment you've got teams. Newcastle have evidently bid obscene amounts of money for Maddison. Obviously, do you know what I mean? They've got some players there that you look at and you think, oh, they are a top 6 player. Wesley Fofana has obviously been linked with Chelsea, like Lockie says. Whether he goes or not is another thing. But that's why I had them 10th. I think that they could probably be mid-table, and I do like Rodgers. I do, even though he's Celtic, makes me feel sick, and he's played and he was a Liverpool manager as well. I think they can do it, but it's a wait and see for me. They're a team that I think are good enough to be mid-table, but like the chat is saying, I think if they start losing players, it's game over.
Yeah, but look, no team in the mid-table, is better with their spending than Leicester. They're so thrifty. They just find bargain after bargain. Even Fofana, they got in bargain after bargain, and they always turn their purchases into profit. And I think that's what makes them such a exciting club and a good club to support and to watch.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do. They obviously begin their campaign against Brentford. I said a 1-1 draw. What did you say, Fazz? Remind me.
I said Brentford to sneak a 1-0.
Could be a tough season, do you know what I mean? And it's like Serge says here, and great comment as well about Filbert Street. Do you know what I mean? Tell you what, one of the best away days actually was going to see Rangers away to Derby when they used back in the day. You know what I mean? At the proper Derby's grounds, do you know what I mean? The old grounds. You've had that as well at West Ham while we get sidetracked. Do you know what I mean?
Upton Park.
Just the old ground, isn't there?
Yeah, and you know that I guess that era is dead pretty much. You know, now it's all flashy lights and big screens and money. In order to stay competitive with the big boys, you've got to sell your soul and try and keep up with the Joneses. But yeah, look, the old grounds they're just beautiful. They're just special. You look, Upton Park.
Upton Park, yeah. I haven't been to London Stadium. I remember going to Upton Park though. It's a beautiful ground, proper
and
ground.
Look, think of the London Stadium. It's magic to look at. Like, it just looks magnificent. But it's a entertainment venue rather than a football ground. And I think about a team like Newcastle and St James Park. You know, now that they've come into all the money, you just hope they don't go to that next level and sell their soul and build another stadium and all that. Got to have some of the old stadiums. You've got to stick by it. But
mate, I think there's something beautiful about them. Just the smell.
Yeah,
can't describe the smell of an old ground. You know, and especially grounds like Filbert Street, because it's just stale with disappointment. You can just smell it. But no, I agree with you. And Leicester no wins at the moment. Lost Casper this morning, early hours. Yeah, I think it's going to be a long, tough season. But we then go to the exciting teams now, and probably a team that many people will have one or two. Let's have a look at them. Well, we start off with the mighty Liverpool, and let me just change that screen. There we are. Let's go away, Fofana. We've got them both second, and we've gone with big Darwin Núñez for Liverpool. Both second. Obviously, Núñez comes with that 85 million pedigree, doesn't he? A lot is expected of him. Liverpool, they play the style of football, don't they, that wins titles, as we know. Obviously going to be up there, aren't they? But it's going to be an interesting one, isn't it, this season? I think both sides have spent well. I just think City probably a little bit ahead of them.
Yeah, look, I mean, Liverpool, they're just a phenomenal club. It pains me to say, growing up, they were my most hated club growing up. Just a few guys I grew up with, just the most despicable Liverpool fans you'll ever meet. So I've just have that hatred towards them, but I respect quality. I was literally just about to say this. I think no one really understands how big of a loss Mane actually is. That bloke is a freak. And I think you talk about to a lot of Liverpool fans who actually understand football, he is every bit as important, if not the most important player that they had. Him leaving, as soon as I heard him left, I thought, I had him almost down to third or fourth. That's how important he is to them. But I will say that the player we've got to watch, Núñez, seeing him play in that the Community Shield game or whatever, my God, he's going to be something else. I think this bloke. I think if he can hit the ground running, I think he's going to be very good. I love Jota. I love Salah. Like, they got superstars all over the park, and defensively they're strong. I just think, in another world, they'd be going for their third in a row. But I just think they're just in an era where there's just a team that's just a little bit better than them.
Mate, it's one of them things, isn't it? It's a bit like, the Arsenal, United, Chelsea dynasties. Do you know what I mean? They could have had a lot more if the other two weren't around. Same with Liverpool. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I'm a bit like Bruno. I couldn't give a fuck. But do you know what I mean? Like, long may it continue. But then again, it's like watching Man City or Liverpool win the league for me. It's like having a choice where I've got to go out and choose two people to bang my wife. It's not a good one, but they are a very solid side. I agree with you. I think Mane is a big loss for them. And I think, although I really do like Darwin, he impressed me. Can he sustain it? We do know these players take a while to adapt. In the season, cup competitions are a bit different. It's going to be interesting. They begin the campaign, as we said, against Fulham. We expect this to be a big win, don't we?
Yeah. I said 6-0, and I think it just depends Liverpool how they come out. But you're right with foreign signings coming into the Premier League, they might start off really well, but can they continue that form in the cold Christmas period where usually other leagues have the break? When you're playing 3 games in 6 days and stuff like that. Can someone like Núñez keep that energy and keep that going like Mane did time after time after time? The loss of him, I think people are underselling it, how big a loss that's going to be.
Mate, I agree with you. I think different style of player, Núñez, as well. Do you know what I mean? But I will give that him and Salah did seem to link up quite well in that early.
I obviously
stages.
didn't take this into account. Obviously, the World Cup does create that big break mid-season, but that just means fixtures are going to get clustered at another point.
It's going to be an interesting one, but Liverpool, I still think they'll still be one of the 2 best sides in the land, unfortunately. But I agree with the comments in here. The expenditure has allowed them, do you know what I mean, to be there. But that's a story for another day. Then we come on to the big Manchester clubs, and we start off with another team I hate, these guys. Well, here we are then, the legends that are the oil barons themselves, the oil money, as everyone's saying, Man City. And I'll tell you what, these guys haven't left anything to chance, have they? They have done what all Pep Guardiola's teams do, and that is spend more money than actually exists in the world. And they've gone big, haven't they? But we haven't, interestingly enough, picked them players. You've gone Calvin Phillips. I've gone Jackie Grealish. We've both got them winning the league. Talk to me.
Well, look, the easiest option was to pick Haaland as the player to watch, but I thought that was too easy, too obvious. He's going to be great. Calvin Phillips, I think, is going to take his football to a whole new level. Going to City, he's going to have great players around him. He is going to be able to do what he was born and bred to do, and that is control football matches. And I'm so excited for England, and I'm so excited for him, because I think, and this is going to pay me to say it, and I'm probably get booed out of London, but by season's end, Calvin Phillips will be the best midfielder in England.
Jesus. You know what? I don't mind it, mate. I really don't mind that prediction in the terms of, I think Calvin Phillips is equally as class as Declan Rice. I think that Yorkshire Pirlo is a good nickname for him as well, because he does remind me of Pirlo in the terms of he wins the ball back and he does the simple things, which we had that discussion about Declan Rice the other night. I think that's the difference between the two. I think he's got that repertoire of them long balls. You saw it in them highlights, but he also does the simple things well. He wins the ball back and gives it away. Another team that used to play at an old ground as well, Main Road. Main Road is one of the most smelliest grounds I've been to. I picked Jackie Grealish, though, last year's superstar. Do you know what I mean? And he didn't quite get going, did he?
You do love
last year.
Yeah, you do love a bit of Grealish. You're a big fan.
I am, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, for me, I grew up in the era of Gaza and stuff. I think Jack Grealish is that class. And Gaza, as a Rangers boy, one of the best players I've ever seen with my own two eyes. Pleasure to go with my pops to go and see him play for a year and a bit for us. Absolute goal. But Grealish, for me, gives me them vibes. I think no Sterling. You've seen him in preseason this year playing a lot more in that free-flowing role. You can see that Pep starts to trust him. I think the passing capabilities of this side is frightening. And we haven't even touched on Haaland, who I did see a comment here, most dullest footballer in the world. Spot on. He's a weird cat. Erling Haaland, he looks like a normal person looking through their reflection in the back of a dessert spoon.
He's a weird unit, that bloke. But as far as Grealish goes, I mean, I keep mentioning how I think Calvin Phillips will take his game to the next level and all that. Grealish needs to really look himself in the mirror and decide what he wants to be. Because you can party and do all this stuff your whole life, whatever you want to do, mate. But do you want to be a staple in England's lineup? Do you want to lift trophy after trophy after trophy and actually do something, not get carried to lifting a trophy? Because I'm going to be blunt. He was carried last season. He got a trophy and a medal last season. He had nothing to do with it. Take the next step. Sterling's out. You're in. This is your spot. And I really like that one to watch. But I think he needs to grow up and decide what he wants to be, because I can see him being the best player in the Premier League.
Definitely got the best hair in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan. I think Haaland struggles. Haaland's an interesting one for me because I love following Borussia Dortmund. Spent a lot of time, the foster family in the UK where we used to do German exchange. They were massive Dortmund fans. So I grew up with like Matthias Sammer and players like that. I used to love going there when I went there on holiday. He's Shearer. He's that type of player. His finishing is amazing. His pace is frightening. If he gets it right, Erling Haaland could take the piss in this league.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I got one worry for me, though, and it did make me smile. Watching him in the Community Shield, you saw it in Dortmund. There's a lot of games he sometimes has when he plays for them that are a little bit weak, that he kind of switches off. It's almost like he doesn't give a shit. Bit like Charlie Curnow does when he has 4 goals for Carlton. The 5th doesn't seem to matter. And you can't afford to do that in the Premier League, and he'll get fined out.
You can't, but he's still just a kid too. I think a lot of people look at Haaland and think, oh, geez, look at this man. But he's still just a kid. Like, he's got a big future ahead of him. I do think City are going to be relying on someone coming off and on. Yes, Alvarez, it's a great shout, Ben. A huge shout. I think he's going to be very, very important. Very important.
Mate, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think Alvarez, I think he could have a part to play as well. De Bruyne, I mean, yeah, it pains me. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got Cancelo, Ruben Dias. Like, they are a side that I hate watching, but you can't appreciate football and not watch them.
Yeah. No, they're amazing. Stars on every line. Their bench would probably be starting 11 for most teams. So, yeah.
Mate, it's a disgrace, and it just shows that there is way too much money in the great game of football. But we've both got them first. They start their campaign. This is going to be interesting. Against you.
Well, I'm hoping for a Kurt Zuma and Dawson masterclass. But I know how this game is going to end. I know how it's going to go. Jared Bowen will put West Ham up early and will look fantastic. We'll be up at halftime. Grealish will score early in the second half, and we'll go into our shells, defend to allow Haaland to break his Premier League, goal or whatever in the 95th minute, 5th minute of injury time for City to win 2-1.
Well, I had 3-1. City.
Yeah, I can't see.
I'm sorry.
No. So West Ham have been disgusting this preseason, like disgusting. I almost didn't want to come on and do this because I'm so nervous for West Ham season because they have been fucking putrid this preseason, and I've hated every minute of it. So come on, boys.
Mate, I felt sick because you're my mate and I love you. And for some reason, I've got a soft spot for West Ham now because of you, and I felt sick doing it. But yeah, I think they're just too good. Thank you very much, Patrick Cullen, as well. $3 donation. You are an absolute sweetheart. We got 2221 hammers. Serge, giving you some love. Tell you what.
Love that.
When we do the review show after week 1, Fazz is going to be unsatiable if they win that game. I tell you, there's a trick. But then we go to a real football side. Let's have a look at them. Absolute tune that. Well,
love it.
Fazz has United third. You know what? I nearly fell off my seat when I saw your prediction. I was like, fucking hell, he believes. I've got a 6th stabilising. And the players to watch, you've gone Tony Marshall, which obviously makes me think like you don't think they'll get Anthony. I've gone, I am in love with this kid already, Martinez. Absolutely love him. The minute they signed him, I went out and bought a shirt. Huge Martinez fan. Love everything about this kid. What United have been craving, I think. And Martial been in sensational form in the preseason. I think a lot of this hinges on keeping Ronaldo. And I personally think Ronaldo will stay, CR7. I think he'll stay. What about you?
Yeah, I think he'll stay. For sure. I've got United third. I think they've got the best manager in world football outside of the Prem. Now he's there. I think he is going to change that football club. I don't want to look too far ahead, but I think he is going to be an absolute icon of Manchester United. Once all said and done in years to come, Ten Hag, he's just an incredible man with an incredible work ethic, and he demands it, absolutely demands it. The reason I've said Martial, only because, yes, I don't think you've been able to replace him just yet. If you do, then fine. But the manner in which Ten Hag sets his team up, Martial's just going to bang goals in for fun, for absolute fun. Yeah,
mate,
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Mate, I'm with you. I mean, I look at the way United are playing, and I'm with you. I was a big fan of Ten Hag. On him very early when we did our shows last year. On him very early. I think it suits him. And I think looking at Sancho, I think that if you can unlock the best of Sancho, for me, CR7 is head and shoulders above Haaland for finishing. You look at Haaland's season with Sancho there, ridiculous. So I think I'm watching how Ten Hag has already handled the CR7 situation. The fact he called him out this morning in the press. Traditionally, when you look at CR7, managers that have been firm with him, he's respected. And I think that Ten Hag is going to get the best out of him. I think it'll only be for a year, though. I think you may lose him next year, but I've got a feeling that Ten Hag will be fine. And I think Martinez, even though he's small, a lot of people have been starting to say in the press, is he too small for the Premier League? Go and watch him play. That kid is tough tackling. He's strong. His ball use is absolutely frightening. I think United will be all right. I don't think they'll jump into the top 4. I'm not on them yet. Like you, I think it will take them a while to get that system. And I'm still dubious about the signings. I maybe would change that to top 4 if Anthony comes in. Do you know what I mean? And if United do sign a number 6. I mean, they have needed that since Fergie walked out. It would be nice for them to sign one fucking number 6.
Well, the simplest move is play Sancho in his preferred position. Like the way that kid got pushed from pillar to post last season, my godfather. I like him. I think they'll be good. Mate, maybe I was generous, but I think they'll be good.
Mate, it'll be an interesting one. Do you know what I mean? It'll be an interesting one. But I mean, I've got a feeling that I think they'll be all right. I just feel like They haven't had I think they need time to gel, but I also think they need time to sign players. I do think Ten Hag will find out that as much as I love McTominay nationally, I don't love seeing him in the United lineup. I mean, but I do love McTominay as a footballer. Just not United level, and I do think they've missed that number 6. They start off, as we discussed earlier in the show, against Brighton. I had 2-0. You had a very close game, didn't you?
Yeah, 3-2. 3-2. Martial
It's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be an interesting one, and they're going to be a team I think will be very active towards the end of the window. I think there's another 2 to come through the door.
Yep. I like it.
Arab Money FC, the second one. We've got Newcastle United, and both of us have gone very similar here, but you picked Nick Pope, who I do agree with you. I think he's a great signing. And I've gone Guimaraes again, Bruno. I am a big fan of this guy. This is a guy that I think United will rue, not actually chasing. I thought he would have been a guy United should have chased, but what do you think? Talk to me about Newcastle.
They're quickly becoming my most hated team in the Premier League. whether that's jealousy, their fans are just piss. Like, seriously, they haven't even signed anyone. They haven't even won anything, and they're acting like they're going to win the Champions League in a couple of years' time. I want them relegated. I think they're going to be too good to be relegated. I think 9th is the highest they can finish. I've given them that, but Pope's a great signing. I think he's the best keeper outside the top teams. I think he's number 1 for saves or something like that, which is obviously when you're playing for a team, near the bottom, you're going to have more saves. But I like him, and I think he'll cement himself, in the England setup again. Bit of experience, but I don't know. I just don't like them. They just there's something about them. Shit colours. They're shit fans. I don't want them to do well, but I think they will.
Mate, I feel you. I've got to say, you are seeing a lot of Newcastle fans now getting rowdy. I've got to say, though, like, they are a good bunch. When they were, like, bottom 10, they were a good bunch. But they are starting to... The amount of times in a lot of the English forums I'm in, you've got them, like, freaking saying, oh, we're going to get blooming Mbappe. Oh, Neymar's coming because He's unhappy. It is a bit crazy, but they are a side that I'm a big fan of. Eddie Howe, for me, an absolute great fan. No, there, look at this as well. Serge there, a bit of money there.
Love that.
I think they'll be all right. I think they'll be all right, and I think Matt here, FFA rules. You know what Newcastle are going to do? It'll be what Paris do. They'll get some window firm in Qatar to sponsor them for $2.8 trillion for a postage stamp size on the back. So, yeah, I think they're good. Now, look at their team. Kieran Trippier was a great signing. I'm still confused how their big signing's Chris Wood, though. Still blagging my head.
Yeah, look, I mean, that was a shock signing last season. But look, I probably went a bit too hard. One of my very, very closest friends, Paula, is a Newcastle fan, and she loves that club. So maybe I was a bit harsh on them. Not all fans stink, but when the money did come around, geez, they got chirpy. But Paula's one of the OGs, so I'll remember that for her. That I hope they do well for her. But really, I don't want them to do well on the back of the money. That's all. Do well on the back of your fans. Do well on the back of, like I said earlier, if they were to build a new stadium, well then they're dead to me. So keep St. James Park. Do the right thing, and I don't know. The Chris Wood signing, Callum Wilson's always injured. I don't know. There's something about them that they're just missing something, and I'm not too sure what it is yet. I still think, like you said, they've got probably one of the best managers outside the top 6 in in Eddie Howe. If they do have a poor start, this is my question to you, Pom. If they do have a poor start, do their owners have the balls to stick by Howe, or do you think they'll be the type of team to bite the bullet and sack?
I'm hoping when you hear them talk and their board of directors comes out, and I am impressed that their board do come out regularly talk as well. Do you know what I mean? I think, I think they will stick by them. I do think they'll stick by them. I do think they understand that the way to get yourselves into a good position is continuity and backing the process. I think their acquisitions this year as well, Botman coming in, I think there's a very, very good acquisition. It's shrewd, and I've got a feeling they'll be right. I think they'll be right. I do think they'll stick by him. I don't think they'll start. I think it'll be an up and down season. I've got one of them years where they'll win 2 games, then they'll lose 1, then they'll lose 2 and win 1. I think it'll be a very year, but I think it's going to be an exciting time. And I kind of like the rebuilds that we're seeing.
Yeah. I think you're right. And this Newcastle's that example. I know they got the money. I get that, but when I go all the way back to what I said about Palace, and their fans and all that. What do you want to be? What do you want to be, Palace? Are you just happy to be that 14th team every single season, or you want to do a Newcastle? Take that next step. And I think Newcastle would have done that with or without the money that they've just got bought in. That rebuild, you can see the changes they make, where Palace is more of the same old. So I do like a rebuild. I do like a growth. I mean, I compare it to West Ham and what they did. Got promoted, stayed in the league, stayed in that mid-table, lower table, and then just take that next step. And you hope they can stay in that bracket for a period of time. Newcastle need to do the same. They can't afford to finish 8th this season, then next season finish 14th, and then the season after. They have to start becoming. The goal needs to be, let's be the best of the rest.
Mate, I'm with you.
Top 6, yeah.
Mate, I'm with you, and I agree with Michael. I hope we don't lose the cultures though, because Newcastle always been a passionate fan base, win, lose or draw. I can't have enough respect for Newcastle, because whether they win or lose, like Serge says here, that great moment when Kevin Keegan lost it. I mean, they've got to go down to Leeds at the weekend and win, and I will love it if we beat them. They stuck by it. 5 to 10 year project. I'm kind of with Michael here. I think as soon as they finish 6th, 5th, and they can give European football, look out. Great to see you, Carlz, as well. Round ball, bit of round ball. Great to see you. But no, I'm with you. I think once they get to 6th, look out, and they can throw money. I'm hoping they do it the right way, and I think they're going about it slowly. They begin their campaign with Forest, who we're going to talk about next. How do you see that one?
I've got Newcastle down for a 2-0 win. I think they'll get off to a nice start.
I went 1-0.
Yeah.
It wasn't excited. I thought it was going to be Chris Wood, injury time header, runs off to the sand. That's my prediction. But this is great to see them back, a team that I heard a lot about when I was a kid. Cloughey's Forest are back in the Premier League. Let's take a look at them. A little present from me to you, and I left the goal for you.
Man, I don't even know where to start. Jesse Lingard. Fuck you, Jesse Lingard, is the first thing I'll say. I hope I've got him as my one to watch, because I want to watch him crash, burn, fail, whatever. Call me sour, call me salty. Good, I am. That bloke, right? I told you, Pom, I said I would get on my high horse with Jesse Lingard. That bloke, career was over. Your career was cooked, mate. You're a nobody. You're a nothing. We threw you a lifeline. You come to West Ham. You became a legend in 4 weeks. And I'm talking, people will talk about Jesse Lingard's stint at West Ham for the rest of our lives, because it was one of the most amazing stints of football I've ever seen. We tried and tried and tried. And you know what? You fucking chose Notts Forest over West Ham. You chose a fat bank account over a team that gave you the lifeline. Get fucked, Jesse Lingard. I hope you crash. I hope you burn. I hope you fail in the Premier League next season.
But I was very surprised Lingard didn't choose you, to be honest, because it was something that he was really pushing at United last year with Ollie, particularly in the January transfer window. He wanted back. Serge shares your sentiments as well. Paul Ince, God Jesus, we're going back there, Paul Ince. Glenn Johnson, all them legends. I was kind of appalled, to be honest. I did go a different way, though. Another ex-United player, Dean Henderson, a guy that I highly rate, Dean Henderson, and I'm glad he's got the Premier League chance that I think he deserves. But I agree with you about Jesse Lingard. I did put that goal in, though, because I remember how happy you were. I am a good mate. I remember you were so happy, and it was a mutual love, because I love Jesse Lingard as well. I love a little bit of J-Lins, but look, I can't believe he dogged the boys.
Mate, look, I want to just preface by saying, I want him to crash and burn and fail on the football field. I will never wish ill on a man in his life. Okay, it's crashing and burning on the football field, not in his life. So I want to make that very clear. Those of you who might have misquoted me or misunderstand me. There's only been 2 moments or a handful of moments in my life where I've been the happiest as a West Ham fan. Getting promoted, Dimitri Payet, Jesse Lingard. It hurts. I'm not going to lie. It hurts. It is a deep, deep hurt that he is not running around at my football club. A hurt that I think will only be matched if Declan Rice leaves, because he was a cult hero. He became a hero, Pom, a hero in the space of a month. Who the fuck does that?
Mate, I remember it. And he plays such a beautiful style of football as well. And he is a character, isn't he? And I don't think the Premier League has enough characters. When I was growing up, there was a lot of Jesse Lingards, like the celebration and stuff. I mean, that celebration there, I mean, come on, look, we love a Jesse Lingard.
I can't bear him.
We love a Jesse Lingard, tongue out, running over. But no, I'm with you, mate. And you've got them 16th. I've got them being relegated.
I hope they get relegated. No, sorry, I lie. Okay. I have a soft spot for Nottingham Forest. I think they're great in the Premier League. I want Jesse Lingard to be relegated, but I'd like to see Notts Forest stay up, if that's a possibility. I've got him 16th. I think they've just got some quality. I think Jesse Lingard, hatred aside, I think he's going to be fantastic for them. He's going to play 90 minutes every week. You saw what he did for West Ham. If he's the player that I believe he is, they'll jump on his back and he'll carry them to enough wins to keep him out of a relegation scrap. That's for sure.
Mate, one thing I'll give Jesse Lingard is he's a trier. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He is a real trier when you watch him play. And he will give his all for that club. So seems happy. I think Steve Cooper's got a lot of work to do there, but I think the squad smells to me that there's a sniff, and I think they've got a chance, but it's going to be an interesting one. We did say Newcastle will win, but it's going to be an interesting one. Do you know what I mean? And
I do remember that. I think Forest are the type of team, they might start slow, and you think by Christmas you think, oh, these guys are cooked. Very similar to like a Newcastle, but I think when the whips get cracking towards the end, I think they'll come good.
I could see it. I think it's going to be a wait and see for me, but I wouldn't be surprised if they got out of a relegation scrap. I think there is a togetherness, and one thing that Steve Cooper has with his teams historically is they have a real good bond and togetherness, and I think that is going to hold them in good stead. But we go to a wonderful team now. We've done Bournemouth. Let's go and see their rivals. It's going to be an interesting one because Southampton are a team that have got my boy there. You'll see I went 14th. Little bit of biased for me because I like Southampton. When I lived down there, as much as people hate me, I didn't mind a bit of Southampton. I remember Matt Letizia scoring belters at the Dell. So Southampton were a team that always makes me think of cups of hot chocolate. But they've got Joe Aribo. Honestly, I tell you what, wait till you see this kid. Joe Aribo knows his way around a football. You've gone Stuart Armstrong, so you've got another midfielder. You've got them, though, being relegated. Talk to me about what you expect to see from Southampton this year.
I just think that losing Libbojrjr doesn't help their attacking options. I just think they're a bit of a nothing side. Usually the relegation, there's always one team that goes down that you don't really expect, whether it was like Burnley last year or whoever. There's usually a team who's kind of been in the Premier League for a while and tend to drop out. So they were my choice. I mean, I keep referring back to the conversation I had about Crystal Palace. Southampton are the same thing. What do you want to be? Because you're nothing at the moment. You're a nothing football club. You're just irrelevant, and you're going to be irrelevant back down to the Championship, in my opinion, because they just don't have it. I love James Ward-Prowse. He's got Newcastle written all over him, or he has a almost Liverpool written all over him. I think should they go down, but I just can't see that. They don't excite me at all. There's not one aspect of them that excites me, especially with Libbojrjr gone, because I really liked him. I thought he was exciting. I've gone Stuart Armstrong because, again, I'm going with a bit of a theme here. I think he's the type of guy who, if they're going to stay up, he needs to take the next step. He needs to be the leader and say, support Ward-Prowse, really.
Mate, Tim and Matt have nailed it as well.
Yeah.
They are the feeder club. I've got to say, I have a soft spot. And I think Serge will appreciate this comment because I'm old. I love the fact that Hassan Houti plays 4-4-2.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's something that the two things, if you ever watch the watch-alongs with me and Fazz, I complain about. A twat's playing three at the back, right? And wingers that can't cross. And I tell you what, I'm a little whore. If you play 4-4-2 and you give me some wide wingers, Pommy is like, yes, I'm watching it. But I don't mind Southampton. I think they are going to, I agree with what you're saying. I think they're a middle of the road side. But I've got a feeling that, I think Joe Aribo, this isn't because of my love for him. I think he adds that bit of class they wanted with Armstrong the other side. They've got Walker Peters. And if they keep Ward-Prowse, I think Che Adams and Adam Armstrong at the top, they could sneak some damage. So I'm going to back them in. I think they'll stay up.
Yeah, and look, and they very well could. I think they're another team in that bracket, probably the bottom six bracket. But can Ward-Prowse carry them again? Can Ward-Prowse? That's all. He's got to do it again. He's like this generation's Scott Parker or Mark Noble. He's carrying this football club. They can't survive unless someone goes along the ride with him.
Mate, I agree with you, and I think it's going to be tough. But they're not. I don't think they're as bad a side, and maybe I'm blinded because, as Michael says, he must be a dinosaur. Mate, you're only as young as you think. It's just nowadays, as you know, Michael, 4-4-2, if you play that nowadays, it's like... and in my day, if you played 4-3-3 on Football Manager, your mates thought you were a bit exciting. Free in the midfield. It's a float. And you try and sell it. Oh, it's a floating midfield zone there. 4-4-2 for me. I'm old. Southampton Spurs. I think that is a great opening fixture. Two staples of the Premier League.
Yeah.
How do you see that going?
I've got Tottenham getting up 1-0.
I went say margin 2-1. 2-1. Let's talk about Spurs. Spurs 5th and 6th. And for me, I think Spurs we've both chosen Son. We've both got them about the same position. But for me, when I look at their transfer window, Spurs are a team that, I don't feel anything for. The St Kilda of the league. I just don't care enough to have an informed opinion about them because they're kind of like there, but they're not. But I think their window is potentially the best window, right? And I'm going to tell you why. I think Richarlison is exactly what they needed. I think they needed an extra dimension. And you look at how Conte plays in that very fluid system. He plays like the most weird inverted system with that three at the back. I think Jed Spence and Perisic really give him that wing-back protection, which then gives the Ginger Ninja from Sweden with Son and Kane up front. Impacts off the bench, which is staples of Conte. Staples. And then I think when you've got Davis, Dyer, and Romero down the back, I think they're dream signings. Like, I really do. I think Bissouma as well. I think he'll come straight into that. I think Jed Spence, I think he's one to watch, and he's going to be one guy that I think is going to go up on levels. Do I think they've done enough, though, to break the top four? Jury's still out, but I will say this. I think Son, the guy in the picture, will overtake Mo Salah for being the best fantasy player in the land.
I love that. Look, I'll talk about Son all day. All day. I love him. He is one of my most favorite players of all time. Yep, to watch. He is incredible. When it comes to Tottenham, I prefer, as the great Jose used to say, I prefer not to speak. If I speak, I get in trouble because I have seen wet shits that I prefer than Tottenham. They are they're the scum of the Premier League. I hate them. 6th. I wish it was 26th because they're nothing to me. I hope they fail miserably. I know this, I cannot stand that football club. There is a deep ingrained hatred of that football club. Having said that, their window is the best window comfortably by a mile. I mean, Bissouma, Richarlison, they have got some amazing signings. Boy, I don't know, but 6th. I think they'll break the top 4 personally, but I put them at 6th because I just couldn't put them at 4th.
I'm excited though because I think the league needs a strong United and a strong Liverpool. Yeah, and I'm excited because I think for me one of the North London derby, I have the North London derby back in the day, the Sol Campbell movement. I have that as top 5 in the world. I think without a doubt, the Old Firm derby is by a mile the best derby in the world. But I do think you want the 2 strong clubs. You want a strong Liverpool and United as well. You really want that. And I think it's great for the league that Arsenal and Spurs are fighting for that Champions League spot. I think it makes a great caveat because at the moment, for me, the top 2 are so far ahead. Then you've got Chelsea wedged in between the other North London clubs. I can't wait for Arsenal Spurs.
To me, this Tottenham thing for me, it's very much like anyone who watched the show yesterday and berated me about my love for the Collingwood players, whatever. I hate Tottenham, but and what hurts even more is that they've got some of my all-time favorite players who play for them. I love Harry Kane. I love Son. I love Richarlison. I can't believe he is there. I loved Henriksen. I love Christian Bale. I loved Gareth Bale. I loved those players, but they played for Tottenham, man. Come on. So yes, the club themselves I can't stand, but those players, they're just so good to watch, and that sickens me to my core.
You see, I'm with Sergio. I'm not a fan of Kane, and I know Matthew's in chat, who's a good friend of the channel. I don't hate Spurs by any means. I've just never had an affinity with them. And I think it's because they've never been in there, in that like sustained top 4. So they're not a team that really, for me, provokes any hatred. But I agree. I actually think Kane is really overrated. This is controversial, I know. And I've fallen out with so many people. But I think Harry Kane he's Chris Sutton when I was a kid. Bangs him in from 6 yards. Do you know what I mean? Ali McCoist if Ali McCoist played now watching Harry Kane, people would call him Pele.
Look, yeah, and I can understand that. In a lot of ways I can see that, but whether or not it's because he's captain of England or whatever it is, I love watching Harry Kane play. To me, he and Song are the best 1-2 punch going around. I can't get enough of him. But yeah, it probably does have to do with that England affiliation. But yeah, I can understand. Yeah, that's the best, a current English's best striker. But
I think he's.
I don't disagree with you. Yeah,
no, I think he's a great finisher.
I don't disagree with you. Yeah.
I just think he's very good at what he does. Exceptional what he does. But like for me, if I was them, Son is world like would get into any side, and I think you'd pay massive money for him. So do you know what I mean? I'm a big fan of Son. They start, as we said, Southampton. We've got them sneaking a win.
Yep.
It's going to be an interesting one. But I think Tottenham will go well, and I think that Arsenal Spurs game, I can't wait for it because I think this finally is going to have some meaning, which I don't think it has. And I think hopefully United can get better because I think you need them games. You need them games in this league where these teams are actually fighting for something. Do you know what I mean? And hopefully that's got rid of all them weird messages as well. It's nice that some adult dating site has joined in. But then, tell you what, I'm going to be nice. We'll jump to Wolves and we'll finish with your team.
All right.
Tell you what, just watching Pedro Neto highlights, I could watch him all day because I tell you what, that guy makes even the most observant owl look like Helen Keller. The way he picks pockets, he's such a player. But we've both gone 11th here, Wolves. Wolves are one of them sides, aren't they? That they're kind of like vanilla ice cream.
Yeah. I found Wolves to be one of the hardest teams to place because I felt like it wasn't that long ago. I thought they were about to take that next step and become the best of the rest. I thought they had a great manager. I thought they played a great brand of football. They were awesome to watch. But then they've just gone through a couple of managers and losing a couple of players. And they're kind of, I think the next season or so, they kind of just have a stabilizing season. But they were this close to becoming that next best of the rest. So a bit disappointing, I would imagine, for Wolves fans to have that drop off to now just be a mid-table mediocrity club. Probably not good enough to have a chance at European football and too good to go down. They're just going to be like a nothing team this year, which is, it's just shame because like I said, a couple of seasons ago, they looked like being a top 7 club.
Mate, I agree with you. And it is still called Molyneux. We haven't gone crazy yet. They haven't started renaming it, but I look at their team and I feel like there's a bit more there. Like you look at like their starting team. Like you've got Neto, as we say, you've got Gibbs White there, Jimenez, who I've picked. Do you know what I mean? Matinho, Neves. I do love that Collins signing as well. I think centre back wise, Kilman and Collins spot on, Matthew. I think they're very strong. And I think that's going to shore them up a little bit because last year they seemed to concede goals. And I do love Nelson Semedo and Ait-Nouri. I expected more. And I think Jose Sarr in between the sticks, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I want to see them, though, be able to really... I don't think they have enough. And I think they're looking at the guy I've picked, Raul Jimenez. I think if he gets going and they can keep Neves, I think that could be a huge thing. But I'm with you. They're kind of a team that I want them to take that next step. And I'm not too sure if they can.
Yeah, agreed. And yeah, we spoke about their game against the Leeds, which I said was the most tantalizing match of the round, which means it'll be 0-0, but I went with a 3-3. And yeah, again, they could surprise me. I think they're another one of those teams in that bracket that could go anywhere from around that 8th to 14th mark. Have a good season, get off to a good start, and they can really push. But I just can't see them becoming that best of the rest.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I agree. And Big Matt there agreeing with you. Also, we've got Traore back, Adama. Whether he doesn't go out, I mean, Adama for me is everything that's wrong with the Premier League. Everything that's wrong. Because I tell you what, that guy is like having a 12-inch willy, but it's impotent. Like, it looks good, but it's fucking useless, isn't it? I mean, like, when you watch him as well, he's all pace. He's all
got the touch
pace.
of an elephant. Just
Mate, honestly, horrendous at arbiter. I mean, he can stretch you, but he's one of them players, isn't he? And exactly like you say, Tim, he could do. You can bring him on 20 minutes, he could take a game away, but that guy's more confused than Scooby-Doo. So I could see it, but tell you what, we've got them losing. I've got them winning 1-0 to Leeds. You've got tie of the round. But we finish here with Fazz's boys. Let's have a look. Oh, here we are, the mighty Irons. So take this away, Fazz. Talk to me about your beloved Hammers.
Well, it's a time for West Ham to just continue that push to be, and I know I've said it about 100 times, to be the best of the rest. I don't think we're quite at that 7th. 8th is probably where we're at until we make a few more signings. If we make a few more signings, I think West Ham have a real good core group, great manager. If injuries for once go our way, I think our starting 11 is as good as anyone other than the top 2. I genuinely believe that. The starting 11 is awesome. You've got world-class players, Declan Rice, Jared Bowen. I think defensively that they're trying to get stronger. Definitely missing a left back. Aaron Cresswell is close to being finished, so they need another left back. And the signing, the one I've got to want to watch is Scamacca, the first striker West Ham have signed for 1,080 days, apparently. So I'm really excited. I do agree with the comment. He's got either potential to be huge or be a bust. Just like any Italian striker that comes to West Ham, they're either going to be the best thing ever or be gone within 12 months. But I really think he's got the quality to take the Premier League. We know it does take time. We know West Ham fans are fickle. We know he'll cop shit after 6 games where he's done nothing, but he'll come good. And I think eighth's about right. 8th is about where we belong.
Mate, I had you just one position below. I'm a big fan of Sayaf. He was linked with Rangers a year ago, so I was familiar with him and his rising star. I think he's a nice little guy, and I think he suits what the Premier League is about. You know, everyone wants that pacey striker. Do you know what I mean? And he likes to play the ball as well. Do you know what I mean? He's a no-nonsense user of the ball, but it reminds me of very much of Varane type, old school, just gets the ball back, plays it, gives it to a mid. I'm excited because I think it puts him, just gives that Rice that protection to go forward. And just as we wrote this, you've also agreed a contract for Onana, the Senegalese international from Lille.
No. Really?
Yeah, have agreed 40 million euros, wow. So 33 million pound.
Well, hopefully he signs. I heard he was going to Everton, but geez, I'd be happy with that. Look, until I see him in the shirt, I won't believe it, but that would be a great signing. Look, with Aguerd, I think being a left-footed centre-back as well, perfect partnership for Kurt Zouma. They complement each other. I think it's a great signing. Like you said, that protection for Declan Rice. We need a few players to take their next step. I think Declan Rice takes another step, Jared Bowen another step. We've got lots of real tidy players like Fornals, Ben Rama. I think 8th. If you offered me 8th, I'm taking it. I wouldn't like to finish outside the top 10. I think that would be too big of a fall from what we've achieved the last 2 seasons. But so if we can push to 6th or 7th, then that's another monstrous effort from David Moyes.
No, mate, I agree with you. Just to update you on the Onana, they've confirmed, but they've accepted bids with you and Everton.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Well, I hope so.
I do look at your team though, and I could get excited. I know that you were linked with a guy that Rangers fans hurt, Philippe Kostic. Anyone who watched the Europa final Kostic took the piss at times. And I think he's what you need, because I think particularly if you look, I think it adds something for Bowen. It gives you threats both sides.
Yeah.
And I think he's brilliant. And I think the more you can feed Antonio, the better you go. We know that you're also linked with Cornet. I think if you get Maxwell Cornet and someone of a caustic ilk, whether you'll get him or not, do you know what I mean? As you can see, Juventus are in for him. So, I mean, obviously, if that happens, you're screwed. But I think if you could do, I can see it. I've always been hot on you. I could see you finishing sixth, like Tim says.
Yeah.
I think you're 2 signings away.
Yeah, and I think our window's not over by any stretch. And look, a tough game to start off at Man City. I've put Man City down as for 2-1, but geez, it would be very West Ham just to sneak a draw. I'd love that.
Mate, you could see it. You could see it. And I mean, obviously, Scamacca as well. He took the piss in Italy, didn't he? Let's be honest. 35 million. You've gone out for him. Do you know what I mean? Interesting fact, actually. I was reading this on the United forum the other day, that he was personally trained by Ruud van Nistelrooy.
I did hear that, yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to a little thing with Ruud van Nistelrooy, and Ruud van Nistelrooy was talking about his time as a kid, working with him as a junior, and said that he was of Zlatan ilk.
Jesus.
Tell you what, if he can be Zlatan, I might change that to top 4.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. But as we know, foreign strikers do take that little bit of a time to settle into the Premier League. A different world. Took the piss in the Italian league, but this is a different ball game. Coming up against big, dirty centre backs, got to get, got to learn the game very quick.
I think he's got that body though. I don't think he's a typical Italian striker that's gonna go down like he's shot. I think Higuain is like that great example of Serie A striker. Lukaku is a great example. Looks really good in Italy, but when you come to England, we have centre backs that will kick you in the face, and it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think if you keep Rice, I've got a soft spot for West Ham. Do you know what I mean? I love my Fazz. I think he'll go well. Bowen's my boy as well, straight into the fantasy side. That was something Fazz gave me last year. Watch out for Bowen. I was on him very early, so seeing that little nimble. But yeah, I've got the mid-table pending results.
Yes, and we did share, probably, in my opinion, our happiest memory on a live when Arthur Masuaku scored that ridiculous winner against Chelsea, and we're now he's now departed West Ham for Besiktas. But yeah, that's still one of my happiest memories on our lives, was that goal from Arthur Masuaku.
It was interesting because another moment of that was I killed Mendy, the goalkeeper, at the start, saying that he's the best goalkeeper in the world. And I think pretty shortly after that, he had a nightmare.
Good times.
You're right. Bowen won't leave dating Danny Dyer's daughter. He wouldn't dare. Tell you what, Danny Dyer will be right round there. But that is the show. 2-hour marathon. We've done it all. Thank you very much as well. We stayed at 20. We topped out at 70 at the start. So some of you dropped off, but to the 20 on average for the last 30 minutes who have stayed. You guys are fucking gentlemen.
Yeah, what a marathon. But that's what we do. When it comes to the round ball, we talk all night.
Mate, it is. Them 20 teams kill you, but we will be back. We're going to do a weekly show. We're going to do a weekly review show. And obviously the live streams will be back. So I'm pretty sure it's Crystal Palace Arsenal, isn't it?
Yes, I believe so.
We'll be doing a live for that, a little watch along for that. You'll get to watch that because they've given us a shit game.
Nah, Fulham, Liverpool.
Oh, that's all right. We've cursed it. Carl said if that's our first game of the year, you know for facts that's going to be 0-0. So we have just cursed Liverpool there. Winner.
Yeah.
But Thank
Love
you
it.
very much, everyone. Your support is much appreciated. We loved hanging out. We'll see you for more round ball content later in the week. But until then, we'll see you next time.
See you guys.